Hello, welcome back to another episode of Financial Fix with Sharnella. And today I'd like to talk about UBI. UBI, that is the Universal Basic Income. And the first time I heard about that was just a few days ago. My husband mentioned it, and I said, "My God, what is this? What is that all about?" And essentially, it's our government's attempt at eliminating poverty. And I guess we can commend them for at least caring about eliminating poverty, but I think that they may be going about it the wrong way. Whenever let's back up. Let's talk about what is UBI. Universal Basic Income is a government plan to eliminate poverty by giving people a set amount of money every month, so like a monthly stipend, if you will, regardless of employment status. And there's no strings attached, meaning you don't have to be in school, you don't have to be employed. Basically, it's just for everyone, so they say. I wonder how that's going to work out. Doesn't seem very logical to me. Yes, the government may be paying for it, but where is the government getting the money? The government gets the money from you and I, the people who pay taxes. And the people who pay the most taxes, the middle class, right? Percentage-wise. So here we have this government program that is going to give people a set amount of money every month and no real direction as to what to do with these funds. Now, what they say is it's intended to help people who don't have enough money to pay their rent, or maybe don't have enough money to pay their mortgage, those people who are struggling. It's intended to help those people. And I think in small numbers, there's going to be some small number of people who will actually use the money for what it was intended to be used for. And it's going to help them eliminate the impoverished condition that they're in. But I think for the vast majority, it's not going to solve a problem. I think it's just going to give people more money to spend inappropriately. I personally know people who are on government assistance who do not monitor their spending habits very well, and they spend money on things that they should not be spending money on. And so, with no one to police how this money is going to be spent, I think it is the wrong move to make. So to be clear, where my position is on that, I think that there are going to be some people who are going to, if this program is implemented all across the US, I think there's going to be some smart people who are going to use this money to elevate themselves. They're going to use it to increase their education level, or they'll use it to cover business expenses, or to start up a business, or they're going to use it to pay down debt. Some people will actually use it to pay down debt. But for the most part, I think that it's going to be lost on a vast number of people who, number one, does not have the mindset to alleviate themselves from poverty. I think that the first few steps in eliminating poverty is to, number one, get the individual themselves to want to be released from poverty. So number one, they have to want to have the mindset to get out of poverty. Number two, they need to have the proper education and resources available to them in order to get out of poverty. And number three, they have to do the work. I don't think that you can just throw money at a problem like this. Yes, we may want to help people who are in poverty. I want to help people who are in poverty. That's why I'm a financial coach. But I want to help people who really want to help themselves. You can't just hand someone who is financially irresponsible hundreds or even thousands of dollars every month and just suddenly expect them to spend the money the way that the money is intended to be used for the purpose it was, given for. Most of them don't know any better. Most of them have not been taught. And so this program, in my opinion, is very incomplete. I think the thought process behind it is a good, thought, but the plan of execution, I think, is flawed. It is definitely flawed. Furthermore, and this is my opinion, for people who are of a sound mind and an able body, I think it's very important for them to pull themselves out of their circumstance. Sometimes when things are just handed to us on a platter, we don't always appreciate them. Now, again, there's always exceptions to that situation or to that rule, right? You know, you take someone who is already of the mindset that poverty just doesn't work for them any longer. Maybe they were raised in poverty and they've decided that this is not the lifestyle that they want. And so they acquire the education that's necessary in order to improve their circumstances, and they work very hard to climb themselves out of poverty. So if you give a person like that more, they tend to do more with it than a person who has accepted poverty and does nothing of their own accord to eliminate the poverty. So we have to be very careful, because I'm not saying that this is a bad program. I'm saying the execution of the program is flawed. And yes, we all want to eliminate poverty. And any person who believes in helping humanity, we want to eliminate poverty. But throwing money at it alone isn't the answer. Education and a strong will and determination that is inherently present in that human being are the other key components to eliminating poverty. Now, from what I understand, in Flint, Michigan, this program, this UBI program, began last January. I guess it's some sort of test program to see how well this particular program is going to work. So essentially, the government has decided that they're going to give pregnant women, I guess midway through their pregnancy, about $1,500 to do what with? They have not monitored. They have not told them what they should be using the money for. To my knowledge, no one's been educating them on how they should be using the money appropriately, but they're going to get this initial $1,500, and then I believe for the first year of the child's life, an additional $500 a month. We're going to give women money to help purchase the things that they need for their children. And I think some of them actually will do that. They will actually take the money and use it to purchase the things that their children need. But in some situations, some instances, and probably more than we care to admit as a society, majority of that money is going to be spent inappropriately. Because as it is right now, a lot of people who are on government assistance, they're not using their funds appropriately. And not saying that a government assistance, you're given a whole lot of money to begin with. I'm not saying that, because no, it's not a whole lot of money in the grand scheme of things, but it's still misused. And again, I'm not against this program. I'm just against the execution. I am against the execution of this program because I don't think it's going to work. I think there is one more danger that I didn't discuss before about giving people money without there being some sort of regulatory procedures in place to make sure that the money is being spent for the intended purpose. The other thing is, go back to COVID. In 2020, I found myself unemployed for the first time in my life. And, I'm a person who's a go-getter. I do not like poverty, so I work very hard to remove myself from poverty. And so I consider myself, a very dedicated worker. But during COVID, when I was not allowed to work because my job put me on furlough, I had no choice. I was forced to go home and collect unemployment. And I kid you not, I made with the extra $600 a month, I made just as much money with unemployment as I did working. So for that 4 weeks that I was off work, I actually found a lot of things to do around the house. Did some, house repairs and, house cleaning and did some gardening. I did a lot of things that I didn't normally have time to do because I was always working so much. And when it was time to go back to work, even me, a person who has a great work ethic, I thought, I'm not ready to go back to work yet. Can I have a couple more weeks? So the point is, when you give people money without an expectation of what they should be doing with the money, or there's no incentive to work or improve themselves, you're doing that person a disservice and you're doing society a disservice. Because at that point, I think we're going to the government would create a lot of lazy people. And I think all of us, to some degree, have some small amount of lazy in us. I mean, who wouldn't, for the most part? If someone's going to give you thousands of dollars each month and it's going to cover your bills, who would decide to work? Because let's face it, majority of Americans do not like their jobs. Majority of Americans' jobs are stressful. And if given the opportunity to sit at home and just collect a check from the government, I think you're going to have a lot of people doing that. And I think in the long term, this fight against poverty could actually hurt businesses in a lot of ways. And I think that it would hurt our economy in a lot of ways. We really cannot, as a society, afford to take care of those well-able-bodied people who should be taking care of themselves. So I think that if you're of sound mind and body, you should be working to elevate yourself and to remove yourself from poverty. But the problem is, for those who need it most, oftentimes they don't get the proper education and resources in order to do that. So as a society, let's work on that. Let's work on providing the people who need it the most with the right resources and education in order to pull themselves out of poverty. If you enjoy my content, please like and subscribe to Financial Fix with Sharnella, and I will see you on the next episode.